Uh, I'm Robert Stark, and this is the Joint Resolutions Committee, both foreign and domestic, with Jason Wright and myself, Robert Stark. I'm going to be introducing the resolution. We discussed it last time, but like going over some of the text on text censorship and civil liberty. Well, this one is specifically more about civil liberty abuses, and then later we're going to be discussing the resolution about Baja. So I'll start by reading the script of what I put forth. In the aftermath of the Capitol Hill riots, the Biden-Harris administration has proposed one of the most draconian crackdowns on civil liberties in the name of fighting domestic extremism. The implications are dire for civil rights of American citizens and demonstrate that the soft power of the American establishment is unable to hold the nation together. These abuses of civil liberties are often a sign that a nation is broken due to polarization and that hard power is needed to maintain order and cohesion. California values stand for civil liberty, and these measures on behalf of the Biden-Harris administration are a blatant violation of the civil rights of Californians.
Very strong.
So, Marcus, you said to offer specific examples.
Yeah, if we're going to have that go through resolutions, we're going to have like, and that's just normally how the resolutions go. So you have some big statement like you made, which is excellent. But then you have specific examples of with citations so that when people are going, what are they talking about? You know, and they're just making this up like, no, here's these specific things. And I think you had some, but you got to have hard citations for whatever these abuses of liberties are. But I love the statement. That's just me. Jason, what do you think?
Yeah, and I think it's good. It's definitely the meat and potatoes of the resolution. And then to get a resolution finalized and ready to present to Congress, just some examples. I like the fact that it's the draconian crackdown on civil liberties. That's something the red half and the blue half can both get behind, right? Like, it's a draconian measure, and the red leaning folks love, it seems, to use that word, and the blue loves the civil liberties stuff. Put it together, and what I think is funny is they're doing it in the name of save everyone from domestic terrorists, yet to undermine the civil liberties of the citizens would be domestic terrorism in itself. So to protect against domestic terrorists, we are going to perform an act of domestic terrorism.
I guess, let's see. One of them is using outside non-government agencies to surveil U.S. citizens. So let me see if I'll see if I can find that example.
Yeah, and now that's how it fits into terrorism, right? We're being spied on. I don't feel safe when I'm being spied on. I don't care if it's the United States government, the Russian government, I was going to say it's Saharan government, but the Sahara is a region, not a country. Like the government of Malawi or whatever, right? Like, I don't care. I don't care who it is. If someone's spying on me, I'm not going to like them. And I'm not going to feel safe, which means I will be living in terror.
Okay, I found it.
Okay.
I guess it's kind of like the parallel with like the Bush administration, where where the Patriot Act under Bush was primarily used to deter.
Sorry, just a second. Okay, it's finished.
So it's kind of how the Patriot Act was later. The implications of the Patriot Act are impacting the right now, and the same thing could happen. Like what Biden is doing will likely impact the left further down.
Yeah, that's something that I used to point out back in the day, is that the Patriot Act, it didn't matter if you were left, right, kind of middle ground like myself in the green, right? Didn't matter who you are or even where you are in the world. It didn't matter what you actually think or feel or believe. The key word is suspected. Do I suspect you of being a terrorist and therefore the government now is taking the mandate to go and investigate you? No. Someone somewhere says, oh, hey, I suspect someone of something, and all of a sudden you are suspected of being a freaking terrorist just because someone says something. I use the example, the cops that violated my civil liberties. I got no criminal record. There was no way he could justify probable cause to suspect me of having alcohol or drugs or weapons, because he kept changing. Well, now I think you have this. Well, now I think you have that. And, it's a very clear example that shows these laws, the way that they are, they have these loopholes built into them that nobody is safe unless you're the one who's like in charge of administering the law. Then you pretty much are the law, even though law is a bunch of letters and numbers on paper, sometimes also in digital form. Never seen a human being looking like that, but it's a very popular thing to come across is, I am the law. No one is the law, and no one should ever feel that they are above the law. But the way that the law is structured, it actually says that those who administer the law, if they want to say they're above the law, then guess what? We allow them to be above the law. And that means they can label anyone as a suspect of anything.
And there's absolutely no due process if someone is under that scenario. But also, I think there was another incident, there was a right-wing figure named Nick Fuentes, and I have no idea if he was actually, I forget, I'll double-check this, if he was at the Capitol Hill event, but he was put on the no-fly list. And that's something that really mostly began under the Bush administration and George Bush's war on terror.
Yeah, when all that started, because of the things that I know with physics and chemistry, I actually have a fairly decent understanding of nuclear sciences. Because of that, anytime I want to go fly somewhere domestic, I want to go fly to, say, New York or something, before the pandemic, it means that when I show up at the airport, there's all sorts of security, some plain clothes, and it's not one of those paranoia things. You can tell when a plainclothes person is standing there staring at you and starts walking behind you 20 feet and follows you around, right? It doesn't take a rocket scientist. And then, I go and get in line along with everyone else to go through the metal detector and the screening thing. And they always pull me out. They want the full body x-ray. They swab my hands with a cotton swab and then run it through the gas chromatograph machine to test for explosives residue.
That happened. That happened to me in London, but I have no idea if it was personal, because it could have just been the head coinage in my pockets that set off the metal detector. But yeah, like where they take you aside.
Yeah, I mean, once in a while, it's one thing. This happens to me like clockwork. Anytime I want to fly, I know I will have to go through a full body X-ray, a gas chromatograph, full screening. I will be followed around, like, and again, it does not make me feel safe. It makes me feel very unsafe. It's why I would rather take a road trip all the way across the country to go to PorcFest rather than just fly.
I think, yeah, there is an article on that. I'll look for that one too.
Yeah, you know, another good one you could point out is like how military personnel, and this came up right away, even under Bush, with military personnel having to take off their boots when in uniform, taking a civilian flight to go overseas to then hop their military flight from, like, you know, Wilderflicken in Germany or something out to, you know, the Middle East. And here are these soldiers who signed up to go into combat and fight for your rights and mine, your liberties and mine. Oh, but wait, we're going to treat them like terrorists when they come through the airport. We're going to mandate that they remove their shoes. We're possibly going to put on a rubber glove and inspect their body physically. Like, dear sweet Lord, people, what are you doing to these people that you convinced to go and fight fights for you? Like, oh, they're so backwards sometimes. But yeah, you know, it was something that rubbed a lot of military personnel the totally wrong way. And I'm pretty sure they still do that. In fact, the few folks that I know who are still active military only take military flights now and will not take
This is interesting. The CNN article is, they're talking about basically a shift away from Trump's policies. So they're actually, CNN, they're implying that Trump, not that Trump wasn't an authoritarian, but that Trump wasn't aggressive enough about cracking down on civil liberties. That's from CNN.
Where does it say that? I'm looking at this article.
Where the Biden, let's see.
If you can,
where the Biden admin stands on the prospect of creating new laws specifically tailored around domestic terrorism. So let me see where it.
This article sounds like he's thinking about it.
The CNN one.
Yeah, the CNN one looks like he's thinking about it.
I think there was proposed legislation last year. And let's see. Yeah, there was proposed legislation.
We need something definitive, like he actually did, not.
So there was a Domestic Terrorism Prevention Act of 2021.
Was that proposed by Biden or under Trump?
That was proposed, was 2021, so it would be proposed this congressional session.
Okay.
Well, if it's 2021, being that it's the beginning, I think that actually implies that it would have been pushed, or at least presented.
Here's something from the
Right.
From the New York Post.
An interesting point is that it's maybe something that was proposed under Trump that when Biden came along, all of a sudden it passed. I thought we weren't doing Trump policy anymore, Biden. I think it's something we could look into for a definitive answer as far as when it was very, very first initially proposed. And then we might also even be able to find, like, if it was delayed or if, you know, it was just so unpopular with Congress that, like, they refused to acknowledge it or address it yet. And then only after Biden comes in does it get brought to the floor and somehow actually passes rather quickly or something. That, if that's the case, that would be huge, right? Wow, here's something so un-American, it couldn't even pass under a Republican-controlled Trump administration. Biden comes along and immediately gets it.
My understanding, Robert, is that we'll need something that they have done for this reason. If we say,
so it has to be something already done rather than a proposal.
Yes, for this reason, or for example, if Donald Trump has a policy of funding the border wall and Joe Biden has been in office for 3 months and has done nothing to undo that, we can say that that's Joe Biden continuing that policy because of a lack of action. Because the moment he doesn't repeal that, that policy is being enacted. The problem with saying they're talking about this is that critics will come back and go, yeah, they're just talking about it. It'll never pass. America works. So it's just batted down as, yeah, that's just talk. The thing you found out with Biden, one of these was something Biden talking about partnering with private firms to get around the law. That, while he hasn't done that, is an act. He has sought out companies specifically to skirt the Constitution. So that is a horrible, devious act in itself, even looking into that. It's got to be something like that. So it's, when I say propose, there's some wiggle room there where they're proposing something and we can say, look at that. What I'm seeing with these domestic terror bills is they're saying that they would like to implement them. But if they're not implemented, it all goes away. They're not enacting those policies. They're talking crazy, which is scary. But we need something where Biden is doing this, or the administration under Biden is doing this, or not stopping it from being done.
Yeah, so I can look for specific examples.
You have one. The fact that he even bothered.
I think that it maybe could be pointed out that, so like us burner folk, we've always been against the Patriot Act, like since Bush, right? And under Obama, a lot of folks who ended up being on the Bernie boat were pushing for Obama to get rid of the Patriot Act, which
you had candidates you had candidates like Dennis Kucinich and Ron Paul back then.
Yeah, exactly. And so we could theoretically use the Patriot Act to say, hey, maybe Biden didn't start it, but maybe Biden didn't start it, Trump didn't start it, Obama didn't start it, but all of them continue it, carry it on, and ramp it up even further. And right now, though Biden maybe hasn't yet added his own flair to it, he is discussing how to do that. He's looking into how to add his own flair to the Patriot Act that most of us despise so much.
We would need him to do it. So that we have to be able to say there is a policy underway. They're looking at this. They're doing that. The problem is that when they propose things or make a speech, they could just be saying that, with no real intention of doing it. And
that's true. It's like when he panders to us burners by saying, and let's make the federal minimum wage $15 an hour. It's about time. Let's make it happen. And we all know that's just pandering.
Thank you.
And it's kind of funny that, we can recognize it's pandering in senses like this, but then other times it's like, oh no, he's not pandering. It's just, it's the way that it is or whatever. And with this, we have to think, okay, well, we need something he's actually done other than just pandering. It kind of says to me that, we might be able to make the point that it doesn't matter which side of the fence you're standing on, he's going to pander, and that's about all he's going to do. You want more civil liberties? He'll pander to you, sure. Will he actually do anything? Who knows? Oh, you want to crack down on civil liberties. You don't think things are going hardcore enough. Well, he'll pander to you, sure. But will he actually do anything? So maybe instead of, and this is a possible theoretical, but if Biden continues on for the next couple of years in the way that he's started, then we might have a good argument for the least effective, the most ineffectual president ever. And that includes Taft, the only president to get stuck in the presidential bathtub, had to be removed by Secret Service.
Robert, these are two examples. Biden team may partner with private firms to monitor extremists online, and FBI sifted through lots of stuff, even though it was unconstitutional. Sam Cheney brought that up earlier. Those are the two articles there. Those are two specific examples. He's trying to get around the law.
Should we use Nick Fuentes being? Should we use Nick Fuentes being put on the no-fly list, or is that just sort of like one person who some people may view, who would be viewed as might be viewed a certain way politically? Like that's just one particular person. Is it wide? Would there need to be other more widespread examples?
I would need to see the article. So if it's Nick Fuentes said, I love Al-Qaeda and I think blowing up things is cool, no one's going to care that he's on the no-fly list. If he's done absolutely nothing wrong at all and he's just attached to some group and he just made statements about conservative stuff but never said he supports an overthrow of the government, and we can really prove that, then definitely we should use that. It's a case-by-case basis. The point is what
I agree with that assessment.
You know what I mean, Jason? It's the smell test. So people don't do logic. If we make a statement, it's got to be overwhelmingly clear. That's bad. Otherwise, they're just going to argue, and they'll take the statement and throw it away. Like, oh, Biden is destroying the law and violating your rights. Oh, but the only example they presented was this guy who has the, swastika tattooed to his forehead and beat his wife. That's not going to work well. So you have two examples here that are pretty solid. The FBI come through, many Americans' communications without a warrant after being told it's unconstitutional, and that happened under Biden. That's unconstitutional. Biden's looking to spy on Americans against the law. That's also horrible. Those are two solid examples. Things like that.
What about, so this kind of falls in line with domestic terror stuff, right? One of the reasons why the whole border thing is a thing is because of terrorism and people saying, oh, but if we're so open and accepting and just allow anyone to walk into America from Mexico, then what's to stop Al Qaeda from, what's to stop Osama bin Laden himself from, coming in through Mexico and getting into the United States where he could do so much harm, right? And then, Trump with his whole, oh, they're all just a bunch of this, that, the other, right? It all feeds that whole thing of, oh, we need to do this for our security, for our safety. We need to. This is imperative. It's only the logical decision to secure our border, lock children away into cages because you don't know if they've already been indoctrinated. You don't know if they're wearing a bomb or smuggling drugs, right? Like, I mean, we're I guess a nation where we assume children are criminals before teaching them the law, even. I mean, committing a crime means you know you're doing it. You can't accidentally commit crime. Right? Just saying. It's just a moral conundrum.
Yeah.
Well, actually, moral and legal. But yeah, so we could theoretically point to how he has said, yes, I am aware, or we're, meaning the administration, we're aware of what's going on there when asked about this facility that it's been reported, allegedly, children have been sexually abused there by staff at that facility, who are under the employ of the United States, by the way, people. When asked about this facility and if he knows what's going on and if he plans to do anything, quote from President Joseph Biden, quote, we're aware of what's going on down there and we're okay with it.
That's right.
End quote. That right there says it pretty clearly. Like, I mean, that's a huge international issue. You are treating children from another nation's citizens and people, children no less, in horrific manner, and doing so knowingly, and being okay with it. I mean, like, doing so knowingly, that makes you a bad person. Being okay with it, that makes you a freaking monster. There's no other way about that. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Oh, you are a monster. I don't think you actually have a soul or a heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, because these children could be terrorists and drug smugglers and rapists and murderers and, God knows what. So it does kind of fall under the, crackdown on civil liberties. And I find it funny that, after we cause a big enough stink and see media starting to run with the story and realize, wow, this is actually a thing. It's not, folks being unreasonable and blowing something out of proportion and making it something it's not. This is actually a thing. And, he made that quotable statement, disgustingly quotable statement. All of a sudden, we see him caving to pressure. He's not like a strong-willed person, thank goodness. I mean, that was the thing with Trump. You tell him something's wrong and the people don't like it, it doesn't matter. He's Trump. He's just doing what he's doing. And don't like it, whatever. Biden, he's kind of like that, but he's caved to pressure a couple of times, and after being pressured so hard, after making that disgusting statement, all of a sudden he turns around, once folks point out. So he is literally continuing on with the exact Trump policies. He is not changing a thing, not because he can't get to it, just because he doesn't think anything's wrong with it, and he's going to leave it like that. And just yesterday, day before, he comes out and says how, okay, fine, we'll raise the cap of immigrants allowed to, I want to say 18,000 or something. Well, that's nice for, I guess, 51% of the country. But what about the 49% of the country that says that's the wrong move? How are you going to handle this, Joe Biden? You can't just pander. You can't just, go ahead and keep things the way they are until one half says something and then go ahead and, do what that half says. Because then you're just doing the bidding of people who are strong arm pressuring you, influencing you on how to. I mean, geez, is he really the president at that point? Isn't the president supposed to be commander in chief, the head authority of the entire nation, all of the populace, right? But we're seeing here, half of the population is vehement enough in their stance that he will leave atrocities in place until the other half pressures him into doing something. And then it's either pander or half measure. That's maybe my opinion, but the rest of it's not.
Okay.
I have to go in about 10 minutes, so can we move on to the law?
Yeah. So are we cool with Robert's resolution with the two examples that we showed here, working with private contractors?
So where do you end up? You post them on the website?
I'm sorry?
Do you post them on the website?
Which website?
Yes, California.
Do I post these news links
on the Congress
when you have
forum?
they're just on the Congress forum. That's all.
Oh yes, yeah. The resolutions get posted to the Cal Exit Congress website in the resolutions section, available for the public. If you'd like to take the two sources here, Biden team may partner with private blah 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 to get around your rights and spy on you. Biden team allowed unconstitutional spying on someone. Those are two pretty solid examples of extremist behavior against the Constitution that would back up the phrase you had. If you wanted to package the whole thing, put it in an email, send it to me with the references and that. I'll help draft the resolution, and we'll get it in the Cal-Ex Congress under proposed resolutions, and we will finalize it this week.
Wow. So I'd like to point out, I'm looking at that thing. The dude refused to turn as an informant or become an informant for the FBI, and so they put him on the no-fly. Wow, dude. Hey, you, come work for us and do this insanely dangerous job that we consider putting our lives on the line every day, which is how we justify our, thin blue line, and we can kill whoever because we're the law. But, we're too scaredy cat to go and do this. So you, person who's not got all this training and backing and equipment, you go put yourself in harm's way. Go put your life on the line for us and do our job for us, or else.
I would...
That's how the thing reads to me.
Sure. I would suggest we not use that one. Again, is it bad? Yes. Is it horrible? Yes. Is it clear that Joe Biden told them to do that or look the other way? No.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, the resolution about Biden specifically.
So
Yeah,
it's just
that's
going to
a
come
very
off.
valid point right there.
They're just going to
it's
write it off
Biden
as some
specific.
rogue FBI agents did that. There's
Yeah,
not enough for us. I mean, you and I both know, we all know what's going on, but it's got to be overwhelmingly clear, or they're just going to bat it down and go, "Oh, that's just two bad apples, nothing there," and you're done, right?
I think they'd say
Yeah.
the same with Fuentes.
Who's Fuentes?
He's a right-wing activist, and I'm not sure if he attended the Capitol Hill riots, but
There was a guy at the January 6th thing, and I forget who, and they have denied him access to see his lawyer. If you can find a reference for that, that is an example. And I know that happened. I'm struggling. It was one of these dudes at January 6th, and they arrested him and then beat him up and denied him access to his lawyer. And that's like well documented. It's just no one gives a shit.
the guy that could be an example, but then is it explicitly? But there's no evidence that it's explicitly connected to the Biden administration. But it's part of the kind of a broader crackdown, though.
Yeah, fair enough. But if I'm not,
but I think it's worth referencing.
Well, if you look at all these things, these all have to do with January 6th, right? January 6th,
Yeah.
We're going to do a crackdown. So let's find a way to spy on people that's unconstitutional. Let's have the FBI go ahead and spy on people unconstitutionally. Let's go ahead and beat the crap out of witnesses and deny them access to their lawyers who were attached to January 6th. It all backs up your resolution saying, hey, January 6th was bad, but they are destroying civil liberties now in real time in order to deal with this. I forget, but there was some dude who wasn't allowed to see his lawyer and was tied to January 6th.
Yeah, I mean, the Rosenbergs at least got an actual trial and had legal representation. They had full democratic process. They were executed for their crimes of high treason, but they were still afforded the system, right?
Yeah.
The democracy. And that was possibly to this day, even still, the absolute number one biggest treason against the USA case in the history of the USA, other than when it was formed, which was with treason against the British Crown. They were still afforded every single democratic value. Just saying. So
yeah, exactly, exactly.
And when we're pointing out these examples, like if we can hunt this one down, then we can also use the Rosenbergs as a hammer at home point.
Yeah, that could work. Should we move on to the Bahan resolution now?
Yeah. So, Robert, pretty good. Take those two examples. If you can find some other stuff of due process or constitutionality being denied, package that all together, ship it over to me, and we'll draft it and move on with this. Unless Jason has an opposing opinion as a head of the committee.
Oh, no. I mean, I'm firing on all cylinders, trying to add to it, always trying to make it, like, I'll throw a million ideas out on the table. You don't have to take them.
Okay. All right. Here is the MIBC and Yes California joint statement draft. So there was a great commercial. It was made by Movement Baja Independence. And it was awesome because it was 10 minutes long, all in Spanish, talked about how California could become independent. And it was made on behalf of us by MIBC without us knowing about it, which was great. So we have an actual 10-minute Spanish language commercial telling everybody and distributed in Latin America about how California could easily survive as a nation. That prompted MIBC, specifically Cuauhtemoc Morgan, the new contact that we have at Yes California, replacing Jay Chavez, to say, hey, let's have a joint statement between Yes California and MIBC. So Cuauhtemoc drafted something up. A lot of us were very inspired by it. However, it seemed to suggest, let's not have any borders, let's commit to zero borders, and we as Yes California say we recognize everybody in Baja as automatic California citizens, and no borders, and everybody's one group. We couldn't do that because we have to follow the law. So the law says you have to have the people of your nation determine if you want to become independent first and have a vote before you can be recognized to do anything. Secondly, we can't say, oh, we're telling the people of California you must merge with Baja before you make this decision on independence.
Yeah, I was saying it should be open-ended. Like, it's fine is like saying we're open to the idea if independence were to happen, but just don't have anything where it sounds like it's set in stone.
Yeah. So this is, I asked Jason, I made a draft, and then Jason made it way better. So let me read you what Jason final draft is here. Jason, unless you want to read it, I'll put up the phrases.
No. Go for it.
Yes, California recognizes that we Californians have a common origin with the rest of the Baja Peninsula. For a very long time, all of Baja and current-day California were one nation, independent from Mexico and America from 1836 to 1846, or as long as Texas was the fabled independent nation that Texans to this day still universally refer to with pride. For longer than we have been divided governments, we were historically a single people and with a universal culture that appreciated and abounded with diversity far beyond the levels found in the rest of Mexico or America. Today, this difference in culture between Baja and the rest of Mexico and California and the rest of America is still as strong as it was over a century before. Both of our regions are still culturally distinct from our captor nations. Yes, California salutes the inhabitants of Baja California Peninsula, and we say yes to reunification between California. I'm sorry, I missed a section. And we say, damn, it's really long. I'm sorry, I lost my place. Let me just, you know what? Let me read it from the top. I was trying to be cool and show it, but there's just too many pieces and I already got confused. So let me just start from the top. Yes, California recognizes that we Californians have a common origin with the rest of the Baja Peninsula. For a very long time, all of Baja and current-day California were one nation, independent from Mexico and America from 1836 to 1846, or as long as Texas was the fabled independent nation that Texans to this day still universally refer to with pride. For longer than we have been divided governments, we were historically a single people, and with a universal culture that appreciated and abounded with diversity far beyond the levels found in the rest of Mexico or America. Today, this difference in culture between Baja and the rest of Mexico and California and the rest of America is still as strong as it was over a century before. Both of our regions are still culturally distinct from our captor nations. Yes, California, Cal Exit, Yes, Cal, salutes the inhabitants of the Baja California Peninsula, and we say yes to reunification between California and Baja California, but this must be done in a way that results in the full buy-in of the majority of both of our peoples, so any reunification will be lasting and permanent. In order to do this and secure a peaceful transition to independence, we must go through an orderly process of negotiation between our governors after our regions have held a successful vote for independence from Mexico, held in Baja, and a vote for independence from America in California. Our governors between both regions of Baja and California have met recently and have already established friendly working relations. And international law demands that successful votes are held first, proving the will of the people. Therefore, we at Yes Cal feel this to be the most appropriate and also realistic path toward a grand unified California that can last. Yes Cal will encourage our governors to meet immediately once that vote is held to begin negotiations for the largest reunification the world has seen since East Germany merged with West Germany, which will create the most prosperous region of the entire global Pacific Rim, the largest economy in the world. We are one California. Our origin comes from the old California. Our destiny is an independent California. We come from the same roots, and we are united by history. And today, we are ready to unify into a great nation that will bring welfare and good government to all our families as never before. I can read it again if you want. There's a lot there.
I have to get going
No,
now.
no.
Robert, what do you think?
Okay.
I know you got to leave, but like if you have 1 minute, thoughts, feelings?
I think most of it's good. I think the word permanent, get rid of permanent and change it to something open-ended. And then most of it's good, but anything that sounds like it's set in stone, just take out and find something more open-ended to replace it by.
Get rid of the word permanent. Make okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll definitely we'll take a look at that. If you
I think the permanent is in there because the phrasing, but right before it, leading up to that, is that we don't want it to be some flimsy thing of, coming together for a little bit and then splitting ways because it turns out it's not really good for us and because we never researched it or anything. And then we both end up suffering from having done it, right? We
Maybe
don't
just
want that for them. We don't want that
like a
for
greater
us.
partnership, but anything that with the opening of the board, merging the nations together, that shouldn't be set in stone, but you can just talk about a greater partnership. But anyways, I gotta get going.
Okay. Okay. I think I found the section Robert's talking about.
Bye.
Bye, Robert. Sorry.
Take care. Bye.
Okay.
All right. Have a good one.
I think he means this specific sentence. But this must be done in a way that results in the full buy-in of the majority of both of our people, so any reunification will be lasting and permanent. We could just eliminate permanent and say any reunification will be lasting
and strong. Or
there you go. Lasting.
Although, let me, it's the English language. There are many, many words for anything that we want to say. So let's throw out several ideas.
Okay.
So lasting and strong. I mean, we could do just, although lasting, that's not really the end word that you would want.
Let's get rid of lasting
and for folks live, this is going to be interesting because you're all getting a little behind the scenes on how this stuff goes on and processes involved.
Yeah, I kind of like that they're able to see that.
Okay, so can you put the sentence up there again, please, on the banner, if you will? Just because I'm staring at my phone right now. Majority of our peoples. Any reunification will last. Period. That's one possibility. Will be lasting and strong is another possibility. Sufficient, which also makes me think efficient. I mean, although that's a role maybe not really suiting. We're not really talking so much, not talking about production so much. Sufficient kind of fits because it means it would be adequate for the people in Baja California as well as the people in Alta California. Lasting and effective. Effective so that,
Durable.
Durable. Ooh, yeah.
Yes, California salutes the inhabitants of Baja California Peninsula, and we say yes to reunification between California and Baja California. But this must be done in a way that results in the full buy-in of the majority of both of our peoples. So any reunification will be lasting, will be permanent. So any reunification will be durable.
Yeah.
That's not lasting or permanent, but strong, kind of flexible.
It's a good one for a end word too. Like it eliminates the need for the this and that, and it's a good end word. I like it. We could do that. Durable. Durable.
Durable.
Yeah, now, how many languages are we going to need to translate? Because, California has more languages spoken here than, like, any other country in the world.
Robert said get rid of permanent. The sentence he was referring to is, yes, California salutes the inhabitants of Baja California Peninsula, and we say yes to reunification between California and Baja California, but this must be done in a way that results in the full buy-in of the majority of both of our people, so any reunification will be, we removed lasting or permanent and use the word durable as a suggestion. Does the head think this is at least okay? Because I can send an email right now, if you approve, Jason, to Robert. Saying we're going to use and telling him our suggestion. And if that meets his concern, then we're kind of good to go, I think.
Yeah, I like that. I did hear him say that, he's like wondering about the thing of, it sounds like we're saying not having a clearly defined border between Alta California and Baja California, but not no borders at all altogether, just that there won't be a separating line between the two of us because we're going to be one again. Which I think is the purpose of the whole thing. So we can't really take that out. There are a lot of folks, from what we've been coming to learn, there are a lot of folks who support the idea of reunification of todos Californios. So, really, I mean, we're going a little bit out on a limb compared to what we usually do. Usually we play it very safe, right? This one is a little bit out on the limb in that, there are going to be some people who don't like this. Kind of like, our consistent work reaching out and working with indigenous nations and trying to strengthen relations between us, right? Not everyone likes
That's true.
But we do it because it's what seems like the right thing to do. Baja is the California of Mexico.
Sorry, let me find that. Okay, that's...
Baja is to Mexico as California is to Washington, D.C. The how they say it, redheaded stepchild, the black sheep, the ugly duckling. the one that the overlord entity is all too glad to take money from, but seemingly unwilling to do much to like care for.
Huh.
I mean, the way I metaphorically think about it is, if I was the mayor of a city and I walked down the street and saw some, person down on their luck, homeless, out there panhandling, asking for change or something, it would be like the equivalent of me, rather than trying to help that person, instead deciding to take their can that people have been putting change into and say, hey, this is mine now. Here. You only got a couple of bucks. I'm just going to take the paper. You can have the coins back. Whatever. It's straight up like the rich strong-arming the poor. And sure, California is a vast economic entity on the world market. But, that's while we're being subjugated. Just imagine what we'd be like if we weren't. You remember from some years ago, the projections were in independent California before pandemic and all of that. And independent California would be the third largest economic entity of the entire world. And that's because America would drop, no longer having California to boost its standings up several places. By several places, I mean from like 3rd down to 17th. That's how high up California boosts America. And we, under America, stand at anywhere between 5 and 7 because, our economy fluctuates. And especially right now, I think we're like 7 or something like that, 7 or 8 is the last I looked. While being subjugated, right? Still in the top 10. And if we were no longer subjugated, we could be in the top 3 and kick out those. All the projections say that an independent California would eventually be in contending for the world's largest spot, the numero uno spot, within probably just a few generations. One generation for the independence and changing of things and maximizing of efficiency. And then the next generation to get trained up and get things set up in place. Generation after that is going to be the first real ones that, kind of like with the smartphones and stuff. You and I remember times before cell phones, before computers were in every home. Now people are like, what? Have an actual computer? No, I don't need a laptop. I have my smartphone. It's 1/10 the size and weight and does everything. But there is a generation out there right now working, paying taxes, doing all sorts of stuff, going through college and whatnot, being adults, young adults, but being adults. And they never knew life without computers in every home, cell phones in every hand, right?
Yeah.
You start talking to some of those folks about pagers, beepers, right? I mentioned a beeper. Oh yeah, I used to have a beeper. They're like, what was a beeper? Like a horn? What?
All right, let me.
Okay, here you go. So
May I ask?
yeah, sorry, I digressed. The point is that the projections, when you step back and you go strategic analysis, the projections for California without Baja would have been insane, unfathomably good. With Baja, given what we've discussed before of like more land in California, more land to build, more land to rent, more land for tourism, and more beauty to enjoy, right? Let alone it's an entire peninsula. So more coastline and beaches. Ooh. All of this had not been factored in, had not been thought about, and it looked so good. When factoring in everything potential with Baja, like you don't really have to look hard to see, oh my goodness, this is something that could be very beneficial to both of us, given that both of us kind of, have a large group of people that are desiring this to happen. And both of us have populations that are being subjugated by our overlord governments. Both of us have to suffer populationally, given inept governance, right? Put us together. This, like the statement says, the largest economic powerhouse seen since the fall of the Berlin Wall, which I was also alive for. I watched it live on TV, actually. Still remember it.
Hey, Jason, could I ask your permission to show you something?
Totally.
Okay. Okay, so this is the email I just sent to you and Robert, Resolutions Committee, 7 p.m. action items approved by. Here's the text that we approved from Robert. Here are the two references that we talked about this evening, links, and that we both approved of. Additionally, action item for Robert to have any additional citations about unconstitutional actions by Biden or allowed by Biden regarding January 6th. He'd put them in here. That would package this deal up. The second one was modified speech, send to Cuauhtemoc once the committee approves. So Robert said he wanted to replace permanent lasting with durable. Do you approve? And then there's the section in bold where I can durable get rid of lasting and permanent. If he approves of that text, we take this and move it on to Cuauhtemoc. If he adds an additional citation there or whatever he wants and says it back to me, then we move down that on Sunday. Is that okay with you?
Totally. Yeah, no, I thought it was great already. That one word change, now that we've looked into it, obviously it was appropriate. It does seem appropriate what it's been changed to. Yeah, if he approves, let's tentative stamp. The ink gets laid down as a template for when Congress says yes, and then we pull out the big old, the wax and the big old seal, put it right there. But
yeah, we'll go to Congress once he approves, and bring it up, and then I'll take it to Cuauhtemoc, and if Cuauhtemoc approves, then what we could do is he'll make a video. Like I'll read that speech, and then he's going to cut up a video and make a great video of a joint statement between MIBC and YES.
I'm wondering if we might be able to get Christine's help and do kind of like we did last time, where Christine and I kind of like, help to direct, so to speak.
Sure.
It's a cadence thing.
Yeah. Christine is busy till Monday of next week. So
Yeah, I saw she got a new vacuum and just had to throw in like the cheesiest super cheese comment ever.
So Robert approves the resolution. Hey, it's cool. We take it to Cuauhtemoc. Hey, it's cool. Then we can, you, me, and Christine could meet in theory and do that. We still got to get Robert to bless it and Cuauhtemoc to bless it. Once that's done, yeah. And
yeah. Once it's got the official rubber stamp approval, everything from Congress and all of that. Once we're ready to make the video, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So that is the action items that we need to discuss today. And we're done.
How's your brain holding up? Do you have a little bit of time to talk some international outreach issues?
Sure.
Stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. So for the folks watching live and or post recording, this is now the international outreach section of which I am the chair. Still same date, obviously, same recording. May 4th, the year of our Lord 2021. So Thursday, 2 days from now, 48 hours from now, probably even less because they're pretty much halfway around the world from California. Scotland will be going and casting their votes at the poll. Now, I have stated before that it really, really, really seems like Scotland will be pushing independence before the end of the year. I also now must point out that as I have been staying, attuned and listening to speeches by First Minister Nicola Sturgeon, not saying it's not going to happen, because she made it clear if the SNP is reelected and she is reelected and the people of Scotland have the will to make independence happen ASAP, and they make that mandate, that the government, being in favor of good governance, will, of course, accept whatever mandate its people lays out before it. However, given the pandemic, herself and I think many in the administration that know the numbers and figures, they're looking at things and they're seeing kind of the rock and hard place that Scotland is in right now. Much like their Scotch pine that is known for growing out of the crags in, granite mountains and stuff. They are very much stuck in that they are most likely going to have to make a decision, independence or no, because of Brexit. However, given the pandemic, they kind of need to just stay focused on that until they're secure. But again, it's Brexit, and their Brexiting is not making the pandemic efforts any easier. So it's very much the super quandary. to be or not to be. And the only people who can really say that for certain are the Scottish people and their governance. Whoever they elect on Thursday. It should be noted that every vote matters over there, big time. They're not, 460 million people or something like that, 360 million. They're actually much smaller. And so, given outside influence in their elections, it means that it is imperative for every single Scottish voter to go out and vote. And they really encourage it. They don't try to limit who can vote. They're not, only certain people. No, they're like, everyone, go cast your vote. Make your opinion, your stance, your positions known. Very democratic, really. Again, Brexit. The UK's over-government has been taking away powers from the Scottish Parliament. And it seems like they're going to continue to do that until maybe the Scottish Parliament is dissolved again. And that's a big fear that I have heard from some Scots. Now, let me say that again. A big fear from some Scots that I have spoken with. On the scale of, oh my goodness, if this happens, it would be like the world ender, right? It's a big thing. If it happened, it would be huge for them, and not in a good way. So it then re-begs the question, to be independent or not to be. I know personally I would love to see it. I'm not a Scottish citizen. I'm a Californian. So my opinion does not really matter. That being said, as the chair of the international outreach and someone who has a ton of love and respect for Scottish folk, Scottish culture, my church, the Presbyterian Church here in San Rafael, has twin bells. Falkirk, Scotland, First Presbyterian has the twin set to the bells that are here, and they ring at the same time. People here sometimes wonder, why did the bells ring at such odd times? Well, because they're not matched for here. They're actually matched for back in their sister church land of, Falkirk, Scotland. I've got tons of love for Scottish history, know a lot about it, and have a little bit of, some notable Scottish history in my lineage myself, though I don't consider myself a Scot per se, and I don't really talk about it. It's the adoptive family, right, where the last name comes from. So legally on paper, it's there, just not genetically. I would love, personally, to see this happen and be a good thing. However, I do have enough love for the Scottish people that I know if it wouldn't be a good thing, I don't, if it would be something bad, I wouldn't wish it on. I think anyone who stays tuned on that issue should maybe think about sending some extra love to Scotland. If you know Scottish folks who are citizens of Scotland that are abroad, maybe you're abroad in the country you're in, there's, Scottish citizen that you know, just show a little extra love. They've got a really, really big, big deal on their plate while they're dealing with so much. And I think a little bit of support, just knowing that they're loved and cared for and valued around the world, right? Sometimes when we're having a bad day, that makes the difference, right?
Yeah. If you would like to draft a speech, I love making them.
Well, I mean, we did the Scottish goodwill speech.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that was awesome.
You could actually, if you'd like, since you didn't address it last Congress session, would you mind giving it a read for here so that, because the moment that you recorded that video, I started sending the link out. I made sure that like I sent it to Nicola Sturgeon's Facebook and Twitter, right? Like,
let me see if I can find it. Yeah, if I can find it. Slate's video title. No. Scotland. Okay. All right. Okay, I'll read it. You want me to read it from the top?
please.
We at the Yes California CalExit campaign have long admired the leadership of First Minister Nicola Sturgeon and the SNP. Having such a fondness for Scotland, Scottish culture, and history, and our fellow nation in search of self-determination, we feel that it is only appropriate for us to wish the best of luck with all hope for a fair and democratic election, and that the results will be whatever benefits Scotland. We know that, as our friend and sister nation, you hold certain values that align with our own here in California. Values such as compassion, peacefulness, living in better harmony with our planet, and adequate representation, among others. We feel that though we do love the current administration's heading and feeling, we would be most in line with both our nation's core values to simply say, best of luck, with full hopes of democracy. As First Minister Sturgeon recently stated in an address to the people of Scotland, there are powers working to undermine their abilities and authority, and this means every vote really does matter. We have recently seen what a chaotic and possibly even undemocratic election can do, the damage it can cause, the hurt it can inflict upon an entire nation. We know the full reality and scope of what is at stake should elections no longer be democratic. With our love for our sister nation, we wish you all the best in this time, that it may not be the fate of our friends to suffer as we have. We look forward to the strengthening of ties between our lands and people, and look towards a future that holds and cares for this and future generations. That was written by Jason Wright, and it's excellent.
Thank you. Well, you know, your reading off of it, your presentation of it is not bad either.
Teamwork.
Indeed, teamwork makes that dream work. Ooh.
Yeah, I love that. I thought it was great. I'm sorry about not getting it in to be mentioned on Sunday, but it was excellent, and I love making those things, and I love doing. It's really easy to, when there's a prepared speech, give a video and get it out. Now that I have everything set up, so just for anybody out there watching this. If you have speeches and you think we should make them, send them to the resolutions committee. Or you can email me directly at marcus.ruiz.evans@gmail.com. Or approach Jason and have him help you write some of the best things that anyone will ever see.
Yeah, thank you. I was just going to say that. Anyone watching, if maybe you don't want to write the speech yourself, but you have some ideas of, hey, I think you should do a speech on this, or directed towards that or something, and maybe include some of these points. You saw us working over the couple of fine points on the Baja speech there. The process is not complicated, and it does not involve ego, right? It's all about that teamwork, making that dream work.
Yeah. Do you have an email you want me to share with anyone? Don't have to. You don't have to. Never mind. Folks, email me at marcus.ruizevans, and I'll make sure Jason gets it. Okay?
Yeah, email Marcus and make it clear that this is about speech crafting stuff, and make it clear whether or not, hey, if you don't want me involved, make that clear, and Marcus will respect your wishes and not get me involved.
But if you do want William Shakespeare in our modern times,
make that clear as well.
Yeah. So,
and then Marcus will be sure to tell me and get me involved and put me in on the. Yeah.
I mean, if some people don't like chocolate, if you don't like chocolate and tasty things, then yeah, you're probably not going to want to work with Jason. But if you like your stuff sounding as awesome as it can, email me and I'll get it to Jason. Your call. Your call.
Thank you, brother. You do me great honor.
I hate chocolate and desserts. How dare people offer that? Disgusting. Okay. Last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Take us away. What should people know? What do people need to think about?
So, in the frame of international outreach from California outward, Pork Fest, Porcupine, PORC, Pork Fest. It is the largest secession gathering. It's a gathering of independence-related groups in North America. It is the largest secession gathering in North America. And guess who's been invited to attend this year's gathering? Yes, California.
That's
yes,
right.
California. We have been invited.
Yeah.
Not just us, our friends over at TNM, Texas National Movement, also. And we will be sharing, from my understanding, Marcus, correct me if I'm wrong, we will be sharing a stage with one another for the first time, TNM
Yes.
and yes?
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Yeah. Absolutely.
So this is going to be a huge thing, folks. And yeah, I personally would probably, if you freeze it right there, when you look at that crowd, I would probably be found somewhere off over by that white tent on the left, standing off like 100 feet away from everyone. But totally want to be there. I'm still gonna, I've got part 1 of the vaccine. I'll have part 2 soon, whatever. I'm still gonna mask, and I'm still gonna socially distance. Partly because that church that I volunteer for, the average age of the congregation is in the 60s. Folks would be at higher risk were I to, pick up some sort of contagion and bring it around them. So, for responsibility's sake, that being said, I find it feasible to be safe and responsible and still go and have some fun. responsibly. Kind of makes me think of like every single alcohol commercial here has to have the drink responsibly thing, right? Because drinking's not really good for you and can lead to, making dumb decisions, frankly. That being said, it can also lead to some enjoyment, and you can enjoy it when you are safe and responsible. It doesn't always end in something bad. So, enjoy responsibly. And I think that this is possible to do. Yeah.
This thing looks big.
And it's funny because there's this impression that secession means you're some right-wing extremist who wants to tote around, an assault rifle in each hand and, have the Rambo bullet straps, bullet ribbons around you and all that. But really, like, look at this video, folks. Think more like Woodstock. And this video, if I'm not mistaken, is from before pandemic stuff.
Yes.
So obviously,
yes.
That's why you're seeing people without masks.
Yeah, and they're doing this.
Different.
Yeah, and they're doing this a few months from now, and when they thoroughly were told by the CDC that everybody should have, or at least a ton of people should have their vaccines. So they've been very responsible in regards to the pandemic. Just any Californians watching this, getting that out there.
Yeah, and Marcus, I don't know if you noticed that, but a few seconds back, there was a guy holding out some silver ingots.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Trading investment grade silver there. And we've been talking a lot about that with non-fungible token and whatnot. But yeah,
Nice.
So I would really like to see us, as Yes California, put together a small band of road trippers.
Yeah.
Who all can agree to be safe and responsible so that we can all enjoy this, right? And go and pay certain other independence type, secession type folks a visit. So I think of Molossia and Gardenia. Now, Molossia is a little more of a tongue-in-cheek, farcical kind of a thing. Gardenia with our friend Adam Kokesh, who is also, is he just advisory capacity to the Cal-Exa Congress?
He is a member, I believe. I would have to double check to be 100% sure.
Okay. Well, at least advisory capacity, because even members are advisors. But yeah, he's got the micronation of Gardenia. I would like to see us maybe be able to put together a little traveling caravan, if you will, of folks. And, if from what I have heard from Adam, he was intrigued by PorcFest as well. So I was thinking if he and his family wished to join and, all of that, and they, we stop out there and pay the micronation of Gardenia a visit, a formal diplomatic emissarial visit. Yeah, Adam Kokesh. Adam the man. Adam versus the man, but he is also he's a really great man, actually. He's a really awesome guy. I'm so glad you found him, brother, or he found you, or whichever way.
I forget how that got done. I don't even know anymore. Gardenia is in Arizona, and Molossia is in Nevada. So we would come through California, hit Nevada, travel down south to Arizona, and then get back up to the.
Well, and so then I was thinking over to Texas to pick up our friends from if any of them are driving rather than flying, right? And something tells me it does not seem unreasonable to expect that many of our Texan friends might actually prefer the drive over a flight, given the hassle that one must go through for a flight, and how much less of a drive it is from Texas to New Hampshire than from California to New Hampshire.
So we are here. Molosia's here. Gardenia's here. Porkfest is here.
Yeah.
So
from Gardenia, we could cut over and hit like the panhandle of Texas. We could go down towards the heart of Texas, deep in the heart of Texas. Sorry, it's just something I don't know. I have this weird disease where if I say those words, it just I start singing that song. I don't know why. Must be all of that mom's side of the family being Texan. Yeah, that's what I blame it on. Not Friday Sings Mr. Hanicle. Yes, so all the way to there. From
here.
Yeah.
In theory, we could take, in theory, if we, one option, just spitballing. So we leave here, we go right by Molossia, and we take this 80 freeway all the way across America to
Joyzy.
80 up into this one, which would bring us up into New Hampshire, basically right around here. Is one option. Molossia is somewhere here, and then Kokesh is somewhere around here. So Kokesh, Molossia.
So we could do the west to east straight shot type drive, or we could do the slight extended road trip version. Each of them is a road trip, but yes, and then there's Amtrak. Yeah, that's how I got out to Nebraska when I moved out there.
Okay. Tried to. Okay, never mind. Amtrak ticket, Fresno to New Hampshire. Amtrak ticket schedules, train routes. Okay, from Fresno to New Hampshire. Nope. Okay, well.
Try Concord, New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. Depart date. Let's just go June 29th, return date. July 5th, whatever. Flying trains, I have no idea. No Amtrak service between the stations you selected. Okay, so that's not going to work. We'll have to do some more research, but I know they have trains somehow between here and there. Just I'm not going to spin forever. That's
Yeah. Point is, there are many ways.
yeah.
Many ways of travel.
I got about 5 more minutes left in me, brother.
Okay. Well, so I wanted to bring that all up to ask what you think of it. If you think it's a good idea, if you think you'd be up for that, if you're, down to go attend Pork Fest, or, what.
I want to go to Pork Fest. I have not spent much time planning it out simply because of the other projects and blah, 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 blah. I was thinking a train, maybe. One way to get out there. The others fly. The others drive. I am not a super big fan of driving the whole way because I get leg cramps after a couple hours and I kind of need to walk. I really also don't like flying in planes because a little bit of claustrophobia. So that leaves trains. I would need to see the price for a train ticket and if there is availability to get out there. So how much does it cost to do all that traveling and what transportation options do we have to get there? That would be the determining factor for me.
Okay.
In my thing, I would like to just spitballing. If it's at all possible, it would be really cool to have a couple people get a train ticket, couple of us, and we ride the train all the way there and all the way back. That would be a way to get a couple people out there. You can walk on the train, you can sleep on the train, and it would take us maybe a few days to get out there, and then it would be a few days back. I haven't priced out any of this or looked at times at all.
Okay. Well, I know from personal experience, I'm not saying you need to do it right now because I know we're about to close. But for anyone watching who might be interested, if you do a Google search and you're like, say you're here in California and Google knows that, and you Google search, say, Concord, New Hampshire, the capital of New Hampshire, right? And say pick the, Capitol building, right? The Civic building. And then you ask Google for directions there. And it'll say, well, walking, driving, flying, taking train. And if you select train, it should show you the overall route, which would probably, as it looks, be not going to be just one train, like an Amtrak from here to there, right? So it looks like maybe going to a slightly larger hub, like, say, New York or something. Get to New York City and, from there, take a train that's not Amtrak that does run to New Hampshire. And now, the one thing, I've been to the East Coast before, so I know you could hit a lot of the East Coast, a lot of the different states in one short drive, in one train trip, right? Whereas California, it takes most of a day's drive to get from our northern point to our southern point. New York to New Hampshire, though it sounds like it might be very far, all in all, it's not really.
Okay.
So yeah, I will go ahead and look into it because I heard you clearly say that you've at least got some interest. So
I want to go. I just haven't had time to really move on this. I'm treading water, and that's about as much as I can do at this moment. We've talked about it until a couple of these projects get fully complete. So it's going to be treading water until there's about 4 projects done, and that means all the way done. And we aren't there yet. So
well, as far as updating statistics stuff, that one might that one might take a little bit longer, but you know me, I'm steaming as fast as I can.
I get it. I get it.
But I will definitely look into it, and I think we should discuss further, and maybe if anybody watching this reaches out to Marcus and expresses that they are also a pro-California independence Californian who would like to attend PorkFest as well, maybe reach out and make, don't just say in your email, "Hi, Marcus." Say, very clearly, this is about PorkFest and I am interested, and, leave your message. Maybe we can find a way to get a decent little group of Californians together and make this happen. And I'm willing to, come back with a few different viable sets of travel plans. So we can, next Tuesday, I will try to have that together. I don't think it's going to take long to figure out. So I will try to have that together by next Tuesday.
Sounds good. All right. Is that it, brother? Want to take us out?
Yes, I believe that is it. So this concludes the both the domestic and international issues joint committee as well as the international outreach committee. I have been one of your hosts, Jason Wright. Today has been Tuesday, May the 4th. May the 4th be with you all. And thank you for tuning in. Stay safe. Until next time.